And we're live. And we are live. Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good day. I like the Australian way of doing things. Good day, it's easy. You don't have to worry about the time. It works for the internet because people are all over the bloody place. Anyway, hi everyone. We're going to have a bit of a chat today about a number of things. Been the UK local elections recently. I'm joined by my good friend Sydney. Say hello, Sydney.
Right.
And we're going to have a bit of chat, as I said, about the local elections, what it means, or certainly our opinion on what it means with regards what's been going off with the local councillors, not MPs, not MEPs, but the actual sort of local councils of the UK, the people that actually, by and large, do a huge amount of actual real politics and work for the actual local people, and what has happened here, and then we're going to have a bit of a chat after that about something scandalous that's close to my heart, something that I've been banging on to my friends about for quite a while, and that's a company called Huawei. We did a little bit of something about it last year because as I don't know if you remember, there was a one of Huawei's officials was arrested in Canada and then shipped over to America and all sorts of interesting business last year about that. But yes, they've been given a very large contract, it looks like, with the UK government, and we're going to have a bit of commentary about that, and then have a bit of an any other business after that. So yeah, let's kick it off with as I said, a little bit of the what's been going off with local elections in the UK because it's actually very interesting. Um, in terms of what it actually means, because well, without cutting to the chase too much, it was a bloody bloodbath, quite frankly. The Conservatives got absolutely annihilated in the local elections, and Labour didn't do too well either, and of course UKIP, who was running as basically a third party all of a sudden a few years ago, also took a hell of a kicking, and a lot of other smaller sort of parties like the Greens, the Residents Association, whoever they are, the Liberal Democrats, of course, we know who they are, the Liberal Party, various other ones, took great big gains over the last few days in the local elections. So, and also I've decided to stick my face on screen, which is probably a terrible idea, but nonetheless, yeah, hell,
Yeah,
why not?
not many of us want to see that.
Oof, oof. Oof, I'm deeply hurt. Anyway, let's move over the screen onto this. There's me. Um, and yeah, this is the basically the final results of the local elections which were held no, 2 days ago now. Yesterday they were busy counting the votes, and it was fairly clear fairly early on what was going to happen. But there are some very interesting little things that did happen along the way, which I think is indicative that it's maybe not all doom and gloom on all fronts, depending on your personal opinion of which party you may support. Um, so yeah, as you can see here, the Conservatives got absolutely hammered. They lost 1,334 seats in local elections and holding on to just a total of 3,562. Now this is local elections, so there's a handful of local councillors per ward in each city and town and county council. So there's actually quite a lot of these guys lurking about in terms of councillors. As you can see, I think we've got a total worldwide, countrywide. Be nice if it was the world, wouldn't it? Bring back the empire and all that. Hurrah! Uh, but no, seriously, I think in total there's about what is it with there? 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7, about 8,000 across the country councillors, and out of that 8,000, The Tories had a nearly 5,000 of those, so they were pretty much in control of, or had a large say in just about everywhere. And they got their arses kicked. They lost 1,300, as I said, 1,334 seats countrywide, and that's a hell of a kicking. Now it looks an awful lot like this is generally more of a complaint at Theresa May by the people, because there was quite an awful lot of spoiled ballots out there. In fact, I think it was something like 40% in some areas of the ballots
Yeah,
that
in
were cast.
certain parish councils, it was the most voted for out of the three major parties.
Yeah, and these weren't just spoiled ballots with someone drawing a comedy cock on them. It was "Die, you dirty scum traitors," and "Resign now, May." None of the above, Brexit Party now, etc., etc. It was really a massive, massive kick in the teeth of the Tories, and essentially a vote by the public on how disgusted they are about the way this whole Brexit deal has been handled, which is slightly unfair, actually, in my opinion, because this is local elections, and these local councillors, they have
They've
nothing to
got
do
nothing
with Brexit.
fucking.
Sorry, what?
They've got nothing to do with it. Is the
No,
issue.
no. They sort out when the bins are collected, and and work out whether or not you're going to use a landfill or an incinerator, or making sure that the potholes are sorted out in the local street, and maybe have a guy go around and spray the weeds down on the road just to make sure the place looks tidy.
Also, the council tax, which is probably their biggest job.
Yes, yes, tax.
Which, if
Well,
you are unlucky and you happen to elect a Liberal Democrat or Green Party in your small little parish town, you'll be paying a relative amount more.
yes, yes. Well, there's been a lot. Quite saying that, there's been quite a lot of people have voted in some Lib Dems. 703 extra councillors they got, and they took they've got control now of 18 councils. I mean, let's let's be clear here. The Tories still hold 93 councils under their thumb across the country. They are the largest holders of councils in the UK, even after this kicking. But yeah,
How fucking bad are Labour? Imagine being behind that shower of shit still in a
and that
Conservative Party.
yeah, well, they didn't gain anything. As I said, look at this. Residents Association have taken two councils. They've got 119 councillors. The Residents Association. I don't even know who the hell the Residents Association is.
I think they were the
I mean, hello, you there? I've lost. I can't hear you, mate.
party. They're not. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Sorry, you faded in and out for a second there.
I think they were the party which held for quite a long time the election seat in Bradford, if you recall. Was that another party?
Oh, it might have been. It might have been. But yeah, they're just basically local councillors who aren't affiliated to any of the major parties, who have gone, you know what? I've been in this area for a while. I want to represent and see what I can do for my local
Which is
residents
what
and
should
local
be
people.
encouraged.
Actually, that's it. I like these guys. I like the Residents Association. I I want to say I like the Green Party, but they're such a bunch of useless hippies most of the time. The fact that there's now 265 Green Party councillors. Fortunately, none of them are actually in total control of any councils, because I don't know.
God help us.
I don't know how well they would actually run anything, because they're not. Their policies are a bit. You know, I'm all for saving the trees and all of that, but sometimes they care more about the trees than the local people, it seems.
I think that's the issue there. I have a lot of time, while I might not seem it, for conservationist views
Mm.
of protecting local environments, and that's one of the things that county councils have quite a large say in. What happens, what kind of housing developments would get built there, what parks would get fucking steamrolled in order to do that. which is one of the complaints I have about my local council, which is obviously I live in Hertfordshire, which is Tory as fuck. Like, it doesn't get much more Tory than this. But what
Ho-
they have been doing is bulldozing
Mm.
large parks and large public spaces to build a place to live.
Well,
And,
yeah.
and while they're doing that to reduce my council tax, if I had a Green Party council, I'm fairly sure what they would have done is prefer to not build those extra houses and keep those parks, but raise my council tax.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, I'd rather do that because I do enjoy on a walk in my local park. It's nice.
Well, quite. Who doesn't? Countryside is nice. We all like the countryside. You get to see some trees, clouds, some sheep, a couple of bunnies. All of that lot. It's lovely. It's lovely. Who doesn't like that? You walk the dog, whatever. It's great. And the last thing you want to see is areas of natural beauty, green belt areas especially, ripped down and houses put on there. Not going to get too much into that. I personally would like to. I don't think we actually need very. I don't. We shouldn't be building more houses. The population growth in this country that's another problem altogether. We'll end up talking
Mm.
about all sorts of things like immigration. I don't really want to go there today. But yes, largely, I don't think we need to be building more houses. I think we need to be, renovating and preserving and taking care of our local communities and areas. And this seems to be what the people have been saying. Is the Green Party have taken big gains. The one that everyone seems to be making a big fuss about the Lib Dems making 703 councillors gain, which is a big deal, without a doubt. The Lib Dems have come back from being almost a non-existent party after the last general election.
They
Um,
were dying on their arse after the last.
well, that's what you get for getting in bed with the Tories for a coalition government.
Even though Vince Cable was not an inspiring leader, I think after the 2015 elections when Nick Clegg lost his seat,
Mm.
it's why they made such huge gains, is because they actually had someone who represented their party quite well, and they hadn't been in bed with the Tories.
Yeah, I don't
Because
mind. I
they,
don't mind Vince
they had
Cable.
been brutalised.
Yeah, Vince Cable's all right. He seems to be, on the whole, not a complete maniac.
He's just an old lefty, isn't he?
Yeah, essentially. But he's not. He's not a madman. He's not one of these new lefties that you see running around in black masks, throwing stuff at people and calling everyone a Nazi.
No.
He's actually quite a decent chap on the whole. But this is the one that got me when I saw this. Is the independence. Now, this isn't UKIP. This isn't UK Independence Party. This is independent people. This is people going, no, I'm not affiliated to any party at all. I'm going to stand for myself and
Yeah.
represent my local area. Yeah, they've taken control of 2 councils in total. They've actually got 2 whole councils, and
I
they've
think
gained.
that's wonderful.
I know, it's fantastic. It's a non-party affiliated politicians is that's great. These people don't have a whip. They don't have people going, "Oh, you've got to do this because this is what Theresa May has said." No, no, these guys are literally local pillars of the community that have, had probably a long career in industry or business and have, financially, settled themselves and gone, no, I'm going to support my local community. They've got 1,045 seats now countrywide, and they've got 2 whole councils under their control. That's this is new. This is almost
The
unheard of.
localization of politics, all of a sudden.
Oh, well, you might know how
And
I
after
feel
the
about
failures of the political class, it's
Mm,
something that's really good to see.
yes,
People engaging with politics again,
yeah.
almost, as when they might have felt quite disenfranchised. I think in this country we've got quite a not a sense of giving up, but more of a sense of that'll do, if you know what I mean.
It's it.
Because we're British, we don't like to make much of a fuss when something isn't going too right. I
Yeah,
think people decided, no, we do need to make a fuss, and decide we're going to run ourselves
yeah.
because the people who are trying to represent us can't represent us. I think that's what politics is made for. I really like seeing this. I think everyone should.
No, I totally agree. This is fantastic news as far as I'm concerned. It's I think you weren't in the other stream I did. I had a proper rant a little while ago about how politics needs to be localized. We need to be disenfranchising and disempowering central government and bringing power back to the local governments and having people essentially spending their taxes, on the local area to a large degree, and actually sort of, I care about the greenfield areas. I care about, having the streets and houses run and the local town policed properly. I don't want to get too much into that one in case we end up on a proper rant, but there are certain areas of certain towns that well, the police have been annihilated by
5
consecutive.
coppers every 10,000 people.
Yeah,
Something absurd.
yeah, it's outrageous, and you have spiraling crime rates. You have the police not doing, not policing the crime, but basically being there to tidy up the mess afterwards, and that's not good. And I think the key to actually sorting that problem out is as you say, localization and localized politics. But they some of the commentary I've seen on social media over the last 24 hours about the local elections has been amusing. Let's see if we can find some of that. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't mean to bring this one up right now, but seeing as it's here, this is a very interesting one because this is a bit close to home to me. It's not far from where I live, but as you can see there, it's not all doom and gloom for UKIP. So in certain councils, certain areas, UKIP have done stunningly well and absolutely clobbered. I mean, they took 56.4% of the votes. That's if they'd done that everywhere they stood, they would be the number one party in the UK now. I mean, it is. Look at that, absolutely devastating numbers. Um, and that comes down to, I think, a number of things, but they really, they've done good work here. They've been had UKIP councillors in Derby for a while, and they're well known. They go around door to door, knocking on the door, shaking hands, and sort of say, "Hi, how can I help you today? I want to represent you." And it's it's something you don't usually see these days. And well, I I I think the kicking UKIP has taken countrywide has actually been largely due to Nigel Farage, actually. Um, After
Mm.
Brexit, he quit UKIP and has been doing everything he can since to undermine Jared Batten. Gerard Batten, sorry. And UKIP, the thing he used to stand for and built up. He's done a lot to undermine it, and the press have been all too willing to help. Where was it? It wasn't this one, was it? It was. Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? God, sorry, I'm such a boomer. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. UKIP loses 80% of council seats in local election, hammering after lurching to the far right.
The
Uh,
issue with that article is that there's absolutely zero context.
yeah,
You can see that UKIP haven't done too well in the local election. Put into a bit of context, the last local election was in 2015, where UKIP was at its absolute height of its powers. It was getting 24% of a national vote, which is unheard of for a third party outside Conservatives and Labour.
yeah,
They were smashing it, and they won a number of local election seats and a number of MEPs.
yeah. I mean, they
But
basically.
sadly, because of the first past the post system, they couldn't get too many
Oh, they got
actual MPs into Parliament.
they got something like one. They got one or
Yeah,
two, a handful of MPs,
who
and
then
and
defected to the Tories.
yeah, and oh, don't get me started on this because what was it? There was some. I should have the figures. I don't have them to hand. But the figures of the amount of people that voted for the SNP, for the Scottish National Party, and
They
the
got
amount,
46,
and
yeah,
they ended up like 46 votes. Sorry,
to
46 MPs, and
to
and
one, but
mm,
more of the vote share.
and yeah, the I think they'd got something like 1 million, and UKIP had got something like 3.8 million votes behind them. So there's something deeply flawed about the representation system produced by First Past the Post. Don't know how to fix that. I've heard a lot of arguments for and against things like proportional representation. I more I hear about the way the American system have it with their sort of collegiate vote system thing, that might actually be an interesting way of doing it. They seem to have two voting systems in place to actually sort of make sure that you have a well represented populace overall. Maybe that's a
You have your
system with.
senators, you have a local government, you
Mm,
have your you have your representatives in the judiciary courts and everything. You have a lot of representation if you're a person in America.
yeah.
If you are so way inclined.
Now, one article I saw. Now, I actually quite like Business Insider. Um, we're going to have a quick look through what they said here, because you know I've said this for a while now. Newspapers are they're terrible. Most newspapers are just salacious nonsense there to spin their own narrative. But the newspapers that are focused on business, like the Financial Times, like Business Insider, tend to, and I'm not saying all the time, they're as bad as all the others largely, but they do tend to go, this is what's happened, this is why it's happened, and this is how it's going to affect the markets and how it's going to affect you in the back pocket if you happen to be a market trader or whatever. And as a result of that, you do get a slightly less bias result because, obviously if they start costing their core market, which is, big business, huge swaths of money by giving them the wrong information, they dead very quickly. So they they've got less of a.
They seem to remain more apolitical than anyone
That's a good way of
else,
putting
and
it.
giving
Yes.
more tabloidy papers.
Yes. Yeah. Now their take on it was essentially, um, blah blah blah. What was it? Voters are punishing the Conservative government over Brexit. Is
Yeah.
essentially their take on it, and I think they're right. Um, I've seen some people. Where was it? There was a. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Completely and utterly. This is what some people think is a graph of information. Let me just point out. Conservatives and Labour were not for Brexit. They never have been. They're all pro-Remain. So we can stick those two on the other side here, and others. This other thing here. This others. This is the independent. We don't know where they stand. We don't know where they stand. The Green Party, I don't know where they stand either. We know where the Lib Dems stand. They also stand alongside the Conservatives and the Labour as pro-Remain. So does this is not this is just not information that is even worth looking at. But I think more importantly, Jeremy Corbyn's party has not benefited at all from the Tory collapse. It has been a massive vote of distaste
It's been a
for big
yeah,
politic, essentially.
been a vote of no confidence against the two largest parties in England.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope when the general election comes, that this will lead to a realignment of the major parties. Because the Labour, which once represented the working classes, doesn't, and Conservatives haven't conserved anything for the last 20 years or more.
No, Labour come out with nutty politics these days that seems to be leaning towards Maoist slash Leninist communism more than anything else, and the Tories seem to be lagging a little bit behind them, but generally agreeing what they're saying. I mean, this whole censorship nonsense that's been going off of late, hate speech laws, etc., etc. It's a nightmare, absolute nightmare, and there's plenty of people talking about that. I'm not going to step on Tim Pool and Sargons and all of that lot. That's their baby. They talk about the censorship so much better than I do, mainly because they're getting hit by it and they're getting hit by it hard, and all of the other nonsense. Oh, that's for in a minute. Was there anything else we wanted to bring up with regards to that? Um, No, not really. What I was going to say is though that you might notice I'm a little bit trying to sing the praises of UKIP because as I said, I know some of these guys and they're the guys in and around Alveston, as I said, they're very pro the local community and I think if you saw what happened here, if you saw the same sort of modus operandi, if you saw the councillors countrywide for UKIP doing what they did in Derby and Alveston, um, and if they could replicate that, they'll be the first party in the UK. They would be it would be UKIP the whole countrywide, and that would be interesting to see. I'd love to see what the papers
He
made of
says
that.
with an erection.
No. It's not fully. It's just getting there. Um, now we'll talk about something that really I do have a bit of a hard on for, and that is the fucking state of the British government and their seeming willingness to to give everything that we have to China. Now, as you can tell, I'm a little bit biased on this subject, but there's you may or may not have heard of a Chinese telecoms company called Huawei. Huawei are I think China's
Scum.
well no, they're China's biggest telecoms company. You might have seen the logo. They make phones, they make switches and routers for internet, you know, routing and networking, and so on. Now, Britain has just signed a few contracts with them to help build a 5G network. Now, for those of you that don't know what a 5G network is, I was one of them. I didn't really know what it is. It's the next gen of telecoms networking, like 4G. So your mobile phone's going to get even more data download capability with 5G. It's much shorter range, so you're going to have a lot of these things in much more a lot of sort of big sort of what's the word? I don't think you're going to need towers, but you're going to need sort of little sort of 5G stations slapped on the
Yeah.
corner of a lot of buildings and so on in town centres and so on, and will make town centres and areas that have got these things. That local area will get a lot of data throughput to the phones. The problem is that Huawei pretty much own this technology. They've really put a lot of money into it, and Britain has basically gone, oh, this is great. Let's adopt Huawei to help build a network. Sounds great, except for the thing is, as you quite rightly said, Sid, it's they're they're terrible people. In my personal opinion, they are basically a by and large, they're a spy agency for the Chinese government. I mean, we know China's communist. That is not groundbreaking news. But they have quite a reputation. As you can see there, there's been some pressure on the UK not to adopt Huawei. Um, and we'll get there. This is kind of why. Can China's Huawei be trusted with our 5G? Spy game? Question mark. No, this isn't just some random newspaper. This is USA Today. I'm not picking nonsense sources here. I'm going for, maybe a business career. Again, spy chip scandal amplifies concerns over Huawei's 5G equipment. Let's have a look at Newsweek. Yeah, as I said, not picking the Daily Mail and the Sun and nonsense sources for this. China can
To be
spy on
fair,
US citizens through their Huawei smartphones, spy chief warns. These people, Huawei, have a fairly long history now. I'm not going to go into an awful lot of the details because I've heard about this sort of stuff ongoing for many years, shall we say. At least 10 years have Huawei been putting teeny tiny little microchips, almost invisible microchips, on their circuit boards of their mobile phones, their switches and their routers, and their networking equipment. Let's see if we can find a picture of it here. It's not in this one. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. Former CIA chief has seen hard evidence of Huawei spying on behalf of China. Now, I'm not saying we should believe everything the CIA tells us. Oh no, 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 don't. But when the CIA are talking about spying and going, that company over there, they're spying on us, they know what they're
When the
talking about.
CIA are telling someone else they're spying on foreign intervention on soil, then
Maybe,
you know there's some really
maybe
some
we should
shit
listen.
going on there.
Yeah, maybe we should listen to them. Is all I'm saying. Now, they've seen hard evidence. I've seen hard evidence. I'm not going to go into why, as I said, but they literally they'll put these tiny little microchips and they embed them into the circuit boards. And it's almost imperceivable. Most people look at a circuit board, so a bunch of chips, and go, I don't know what that is. I'm just going to run with it. And does it work? Yes, it does. Great. It does my switching. It does my routing. It's a mobile phone. Whatever it's doing, it's great. It works. Hurrah! It's doing what I want it to do. But what this little chip is doing is taking a little bit of your bandwidth and taking your data and basically copying it and sending it all off to where you're trying to see making your phone call, you're getting your phone call, it's going straight through, no problem at all. It's also going off to one of Huawei's data centers, going over to China, and then having some Chinese spy agency being given full access to it. Now, if you're just talking to your Aunt Mabel about her latest bake off that she's done and her recipe for a banoffee pie or something, not a big deal. Nobody cares about that. But if you say work for a big company, maybe a defence contractor, maybe you work for the government or the British military or something like that, and you've got a Huawei phone, they know where you are. They are tracking where you're moving. You know how your mobile phone, your smartphone, sort of going, oh, you visited McDonald's in Milton Keynes yesterday. How was it? Did you enjoy your burger and chips that you had? And you sat there going, how the fucking hell does my phone know that? Well, that's just standard smartphone technology. With a Huawei phone, the Chinese government also know that. So if you're working for a company that has data to protect, they know where you are. They know what you're doing. They know anything you're doing in and around that phone. We've all sort of sat there and gone, how the hell does my smartphone? Why? I was just talking to a friend about buying a lightsaber or whatever nerdy thing you do, and now my phone is telling me to buy lightsabers from this place. Was it listening to me? It can it do that? Well, anyone that owns an Alexa or anything like that knows that they can. And yes, your Huawei smartphone is listening to you, listening to everything around you, and sending it off to China. Now, that's going to be an awful lot of work for some Chinese people sat there listening to an awful lot of nonsense, yes. But if it's important data, they will soon work out which is important people to listen to, and they will be listening to it. And if your company has just gone and stuck a whole bunch of switches and routers in, going, "Oh, this stuff's loads cheaper than Cisco. I'm Netgear. This is great. We've had a great offer, but Huawei have done all of our networking for next to nothing. This is fantastic. You know why they've done it for next to nothing? Because they're stealing your plans, all your blueprints, all of your export controlled data, all of your plans for your next designs for I don't know new engine for your car or whatever you are, if you're a Ford Motor Company, they're nicking the lot. They're nicking the lot. Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. And the British government have just said, oh yes, Huawei, come in and put all of your spy equipment in all over our cities so you can monitor absolutely everything that is going off all over the country.
I wonder how they managed to get that deal through.
You
I
know,
wonder who
that's
who in government had direct ties to hire up people in the company.
it's funny you should ask that. I was wondering that same sort of thing. I was like, who, why, how come they've had so much pull? I mean, you'd think that MI5 and MI6 and CIA and various other friendly intelligence companies would have gone over to the government and gone, for God's sakes, don't use Huawei for that. That's far too much power. But, but, and apparently they did. Apparently they did, from what I've heard. They, as you can see, Wired. Everybody has been warning everybody about. Look, Wired is a fairly decent tech company. Everybody's been warning about spies and backdoors in Huawei's kit. So why have the British government done this? Well, here we go. I found this. This is rather interesting. Big thunk right here. Lord Brown, David Cameron's Cabinet Office non-executive director, is now the chairman of Huawei UK. Sir Andrew Khan, David Cameron's head of UK trade and investments, is now a board member of Huawei UK. John Suffolk, Cameron's chief information officer, who really should know better, is Huawei's senior vice
your name at that point.
president and global cybersecurity privacy officer. Fuck my life. Sorry, excuse my language, but holy fucking shit. This is unbelievable. Okay, find my words. Right. A few years ago, now before my time perhaps, but people were put against walls and shot for spying against their own country. This is treason. These scum, utter scum, are literally betrayed their own country for big fat wads of Chinese spy money. Allegedly.
I mean, have you seen the wads though? I mean,
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Huawei know how to pay people off well. Yeah. Then these guys are probably on big fat stacks, huge fucking stacks of dirty Chinese spy money. Allegedly. Yeah.
As we are an impartial network, other spy companies are available.
You know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would rather these guys were spying for the CIA. I would much rather these or Australia, or even no. I can't say that word. I was going to say France, but no, fuck France.
No. Never the French.
Are the French better than the Chinese? I'm not sure. Yes, they are ish. Yeah, I guess they're not. Yeah, but no. Seriously. In all seriousness, we share information regularly with America, with Canada, with the Western world. We have these big sort of information sharing networks and so on, and the intelligence agencies work together. It wouldn't be so terrible if these guys were in the back pocket of basically a CIA operation. It would be iffy. I wouldn't be massively happy about it. I would be having a bit of a rant about it. But these guys are in bed with the Chinese. The Chinese steal everything, allegedly. They copy absolutely everything, allegedly. Just go on to Alibaba.
Allegedly. Have you ever gone to get a Rolex watch in China?
Yeah, I was going to say, go on to Alibaba, have a look around through watches and mobile phones, and you tell me if they're copying the living daylights out of absolutely everything. Make your own mind up. Don't take my word for it. I'm just some random guy on the internet having a bit of a rant from his office. But yeah. Don't trust Huawei. Don't trust the Chinese with your data. They will steal it. I mean, I remember hearing a story a couple of years ago now. They had ordered what was it? I think it was an aircraft, ordered a couple of aircraft carriers from Russia, their big ally, and Russia delivered one of them and was like, "We've got another 3 being built for you," and the Chinese basically marched an army of people into their new aircraft carrier with tape measures and notepads and started measuring every single angle, every single detail of the aircraft carrier they'd just taken. Cancelled the order and went, "Great, no thanks, we'll build our own now." They will fuck over everyone on this type of stuff. They just, yeah, cheeky bastards.
I know it's a bit of a niche one, but if anyone's interested in cars, the old MGB and the Mazda MX-5,
Oh yeah.
there was a case in which they recorded the exhaust notes made by old British sports cars in order to,
You're kidding.
in order to copy it,
I mean, to be
recording
fair,
the old exhaust notes.
the MGB GT, ooh, that had got the Rover 3.5 litre V8 engine in it.
Yeah, so I
Uh,
started to go take the
Nerd
old
hat on
MG.
properly here. That was a
Yeah.
beautiful car. I mean, that was. Hold on, let me preface that. That was a beautiful car when it worked. The thing is with those MGs was it was a labour of love, and you had to have a toolkit handy at all times because those damn things broke down all the time, and you had to be a mechanic. It was a great mechanics car because it kept you permanently in work and permanently practicing your art. I knew someone had an MG midget back a few years ago now, and he loved that thing. He absolutely adored that thing. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take it out every weekend." He took it
He
out
didn't.
one weekend in 4. The other 3 weekends he was working on the damn thing, trying to get it to work. Lovely car, sounded beautiful, lovely little classic British sports car. Had a real, real beautiful engine note. So I can see why they copied it. But yes, the
Anyway,
Chinese.
back on the China.
Yes, back China. Yeah, that. No, I'm not.
Do you have to do a lot of deals with the Chinese?
I
I
I
deal with the Chinese all the time.
I do as little business with China as possible. I won't. Oh, buy British. That's what I say. Support your local community. Support your local economy. Buy British. Absolutely right. Britain.
If you
Uh,
find a phone made in Britain today, I'll pay you good money.
I wish I hadn't. I actually found an old Bakelite phone. With the old ring. You lift up the handle and you've got the little curly cable, and you dial the numbers round in a circle. I found one of those the other day. I was like, you know what? I can't remember where I put it. I put it somewhere safe. And one of these days, I think I'm going to wait a few more years. And I've got a little niece. She's an adorable little girl. But I thought I'd wait till she's a teenager and she sat there on her phone all the time, and then I'm going to go, "Here you go, tell me what that is," and she will not have a freaking clue. She won't know how to use it. It'll be alien technology to her, and I'm going to have loads of fun watching that because
God, you boomer.
I'm not quite a boomer. Gen X. We we're getting a bit more noisy now, hopefully. And anybody that's Gen X out there, start fucking using your voice. Stop letting fucking boomers in their 50s and 60s and 70s and all of that lot fucking run everything. We need to start standing up, so we got to start kicking out that generation from politics and actually start using our fucking voice, because if we're not careful, the millennials, who are a bunch of whiny little crybabies, are going to start whining and crying all over it, and we're just going to be, no, no, absolutely not. Hello, hello. We have an uninvited guest in here. Is that who I think it is? Scrump. How's it going, man?
You're about to get scrumped, yes. What do you mean uninvited? What do you
Well,
mean?
yes. Everyone's invited. Everyone in my server is invited. Unexpected was probably the better word for it. How's it going,
I'm
mate?
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm late. I've been outside doing some cleaning in my garden and decking. Well, yard, I guess. But as soon as I saw that you'd moved it to now, I felt bad. Did you actually manage to start at 12? Have I actually missed 50 minutes of streaming?
You have missed 50 minutes of streaming. I started on time this time. It was amazing. Yeah,
Well, I know it's shocked me as much as it shocked you.
I had no terrible sound problems. Everything's working. I've even got my face on camera this time, so this is probably
Jesus, dude.
brave or what? My camera worked for once. It's a miracle. So I thought, bloody hell, it's working. I'll use it. So yeah, we're having a bit of a rant about the Chinese being dirty spy merchants. And
Of course.
yeah,
Oh, my
and the
God.
whole business with Huawei and all of that nonsense.
Huawei.
Yeah.
I always worry how to say that. Like, I always end up with like a in there, like Huawei.
Huawei.
Like I'm talking about Juan.
Yeah.
But
It's
God.
just think kung fu movies. Huawei.
Huawei. Oh my God. Have you guys covered the whole cabinet minister debacle yet?
We were
The-
just talking about them. I've just got them up in front, and Lord Brown, Cameron's ex-cabinet minister, chairman of Huawei. Sir David Khan, Cameron's ex-UK and Trade and Investments, board member of Huawei, and John Suffolk, Cameron's chief information officer, Huawei's senior vice president and global cybersecurity privacy officer. That title in itself, it's such sleaze. It really
Didn't
is.
the Canadians attempt to arrest the Huawei executive?
They did. In fact, they
Well,
didn't just attempt to. They did arrest one, and the details of that are. I don't know if I
Rather
should.
disturbing, yes.
Yes, I don't know if I should go into all of the details because I know I at least heard some other things
Scrump,
about
is there a red
it.
dot on your forehead?
No, it's one. It's
Oh shit.
this is why I have the windows closed and yeah, no no chance of anything untoward happening. One of these days we'll get onto something I heard about Hillary Clinton, but not today. I'm not feeling quite that insane and suicidal yet. But
Oh, guys, this is the last ever streams.
yeah, no, no. The thing that was last year when the Canadians arrested a Huawei official, and I believe exported them over to America because America wanted to have a quiet word with them.
They found some extra components in some telecommunications equipment, didn't they? Some large. Are they switches or I can't remember what they were.
It was. Oh God, I'm gonna say it right. This is what I heard, and this dates back about 10 years. That the Canadian government had put in a huge number of Huawei switches, routers, and general networking gear, right the way across the Canadian governmental infrastructure. And yeah, then they found that they were being spied on rather heavily by Huawei and the Chinese government, and had to strip it all out. And then, now this is all allegedly. I have no evidence to back this up whatsoever because the stuff that came out last year about it was a different story. But yeah, a Huawei official turned up in Canada and they leapt on them, transported them over to America, and I'm probably not far wrong when I say a certain alphabet agency beginning with C, ending in A. Yeah, CIA basically had a word with her. Him, was it him or her? I can't remember now. But yes,
her,
it was a
actually.
her, wasn't it? Yes, yeah, they had a word with her, and I think they've been let go back to China, but
Sure.
I'm not totally sure on that. Let's see if I can find any new information on that. Have a quick.
There's actually CBC News today. Poor Canada. Will Meng Wanzhou extradition hearing threaten national interest? Apparently, the Chinese are putting the economic screws on, attempting to get them to not extradite them to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chinese economic pressure tactics called precedent by former head of extradition for UK. Yeah, there's a massive pressure on them not to extradite.
Yes, it's It's a very nasty bit of business, that is, and yes, what we have heard as the general public about it only scratches the surface and is more misinformation than actual information, to be perfectly honest. And I think the general public is. I don't usually say this. I think the general public is largely better off not knowing, because we will not sleep as well as we do at night, knowing exactly what's going off with
Well,
this
they got
this
caught
particular one.
red-handed, and if the Canadians like thieved the Chinese on this, they are bigger pussies than even everyone thought.
Yeah, but
Fucking leave.
it's
Fucking leave.
it's fucking Canada. I mean, they've got Justin Trudeau as their leader. I mean, look at him. He's got lovely hair. Is I think the best thing anyone can say about Trudeau.
Yes,
He's a spitting image of his father as well. Just put a beard on him, and you know, a little green cap. He looks just like him. Where's that image? Let's get myself in trouble with that one. Yeah, why not?
Deary me, yes. It's very much so. It's one of those things. It's one of those things where you think that maybe we're better not knowing the details. But
yeah, that's it, really, isn't it? It's there we go. Let's just slide that picture over there. You tell me. Justin Trudeau, Fidel Castro. I don't know. Either way.
The big comparison, yeah. That's such a meme, but the more I look at it...
Oh, they look so alike. They look a lot alike, is what I'm saying.
very alike.
So yeah, that's a bit scary. Let's have a look at this CBC news. Let's see if we can get this up on the screen. You just sent me. Poor Canada will wing Mengzu's Wanzhou's extradition. Yeah. This is the thing is, I almost feel sorry for this girl, because now she's been over there, she's been locked up, she's been talked to by various people. She's going to go over to China, and they're going to want to have a long chat with her and find out what she may or may not have given up as information. This is she's stuck between the rock and a hard place. Yeah, this is this is a right old mess. So yeah, there's that, and
apparently I'm sorry. I'm going back to the stream now. My audio is not great for some reason.
Let me see
I'm weirdly distorted. I don't know what Discord is doing these days, but
no, you're a little quiet as well. I'll just give you a bit of a boost.
Yeah, but I'm like distorted too. I don't know why. Is this any better? Is that if you boost my volume? I'm turning my gain down currently. You put me on like, I don't know, something a bit more appropriate percentage-wise.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a full 200%.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what's doing this.
Go all in.
All in, yeah. My mic settings got like gain. Sorry about this, guys.
Oh, you've got you've got the same mic as I've got. I've got a Yeti. I cannot get my Yeti to work. Every time I use my Yeti, it sounds worse than my headphones. My headphones cost less than my Yeti.
I've had very good luck with my Yeti, generally, but
everybody always moans about it. They're like, oh no, it sounds terrible. I can hear the people behind you, and I can hear noise, and yeah, no, what can I say? I'm a bit of a boomer when it comes to tech.
Sound,
yeah, a bit.
It is a bit of a crapshoot. Input.
I've spoken to some of my more autistic friends about sound settings, and yeah, and there was an awful lot of talk about having to use 5 million different filters, and just no. cannot be asked with 5 million filters and maybe attaching various other stuff to nah. But just seems to be more stuff to go wrong and twiddle with and make a mess of things. So yeah, that's the situation with Huawei and stuff. We've talked about the local elections as well, and how the social media are busy trying to say that it means that the country's turned around and gone, no, we want to be back in the EU, and we've got other people saying it's clearly a big two fingers up at the Conservatives. And I'm going to smoke on stream. I don't care.
You're gonna get like yeeted.
Yeeted? What are they going to do? Demonetize my channel? I've got like 26 subscribers.
It's weird.
They can't demonetize me. They can't do anything. I am untouchable. I am so small.
My mic, as coming through to me, is not distorted. So it's Discord.
It's you're actually sounding fine to me. I don't know whether it's somehow being mutilated
This
by
is
the
my
stream.
usual gain level, but
Ooh.
Is that worse?
That's got a bit more bass to it. That's it is what it is.
I'm not distorting though, am I?
It's a little, but not too bad.
I have no clue.
I think we can deal with it.
Yeah. It's alright.
I don't want to end up like Sag.
Oh, that was. That did
Again,
go.
sorry, I'm readjusting my gains.
Crikey, there's actually people talking in chat.
Yes, there are people talking in chat. I apologise for the audio troubleshooting here.
Take your time, we're only talking about the Chinese government trying to kill us all.
Oh, I know what it's done.
What's it? What?
Is that any better?
Oh, actually, that might be better. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just for some reason the automatic gain control.
Oh, you're not. Oh, yeah. You were saying that the other day that
It's very much fucking me up. So, very much fucking me up.
Bad gain control. Bad.
Anyway, yeah, the Chinese government is a shit. Very much a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. We should get Anubis in here and start talking about the Chinese government. Then I will.
Oh my god, that would be some very good conspiracy theory shit.
That's proper tinfoil hat firmly in place.
Tinfoil hat firmly secured.
We'll end up on organ harvesting and all manner of things that
see you in the bath full of ice in a week's time.
That have been alleged to have maybe happened, but of course I have no confirmed reports of, and I'm sure a government wouldn't do that to its own people.
Yeah, I'm sure a government would never do that to its own people.
Oof.
Hightail feature. No, we will not ban everyone. Then we'll be in our own again. it's telling Stars to ban everyone there. Oh, and hi, David GX. I tend to watch your gaming stuff. That's pretty good. You do some good streams. Yeah, local election wise though. I'm guessing you covered the UKIP stuff. Cause...
I did. I was basically covering what they've done. Well, that they got hammered. They got hammered nationwide, and I'm blaming Nigel Farage for that more than.
Not as bad as they could have done. They were actually predicted to lose all of their seats.
Yes, and in certain places, like in certain areas of Derby, they absolutely kicked ass.
They did, and they need to learn how to replicate that.
Yeah. No, I think that's down to the actual councillors themselves. But you know what? McDonald's managed to go, okay, let's see what we do right. Let's replicate that and roll it out as a franchise, worldwide. And they did okay doing that, and that's a good model.
They did do okay, yes.
And I think the same can be done in politics. And if we can find out what UKIP were doing right in Derby and various other places where they actually did do okay,
It's a long-term thing, is the thing.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are going to realise that the Brexit Party is another... Well, it is. It's very blatantly another single-issue party.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that once that single issue is resolved, that party goes away and starts being useful. What people want and what people need is a proper long-term alternative party for the UK, which is why I really... The only large criticism I have of Jared Barton and UKIP is the fact that they will not use the lion, because they need to use the lion and not use the pound.
Yes.
Because the pound dates from about 2004, when people thought we were going to join the euro. That is a vestige of a very old campaign and from the origins of UKIP. And UKIP has grown far, far, far beyond that and needs to acknowledge it. I think the lion, the UKIP lion, is a far better symbol for people to rally around. I think they will do.
Yeah, it's a good... I like it. I think they could spend a huge amount of time and money sort of investing in a new one. But the lion's not bad. Gerard, unfortunately, doesn't seem to like it. I've heard him refer to it as Larry the Lion and various other sort of... I think England's always represented itself as the lion, etc. It's part of our heritage, and national iconography. And no, I quite like the lion, but no, apparently we're going with the pound.
Ugh.
So yeah. I tell you, I met Gerard Batten a couple of weeks ago.
You did?
Yeah. He's a really genuinely nice guy. I've run into a few politicians in my time occasionally, and they often come across as a bit
slimy.
That's not the word I was looking for, but that does sort of serve. They come across as a little false sometimes and a little potentially duplicitous, and Gerard didn't seem like that. He seemed like a nice, warm, caring old chap. Actually, he seemed like a decent bloke. Proportional representation being mentioned in chat. Yes, perhaps.
Maybe.
Maybe it does tend to bring out bad, government with 15 parties having to be a coalition to actually form a government. But I don't know. I said this earlier. I don't know whether the American system of having a collegiate vote and a general vote is a better system. There's something to be looked at, but certainly the first past the post system seems to favour the bigger parties and the Scottish.
Oh, the Scottish. Don't get me started on the Scottish and the fact that their votes outweigh everyone else's votes massive. They get 60 MPs to return, and they have a population of probably not the same as Greater Manchester. Probably less, actually. They have a population of what, like 1.6 million?
But guys, they're underrepresented in Parliament. SNP.
Look,
this is genuinely an SNP party line.
Oh, I know. It's atrocious. Personally, when they were going on about wanting to devolve from England and set themselves up as their own country, fine.
Devolve,
you know what? By all means, be my guest. If that's what you want, you're actually better off with England. But if you want that, fine, no problem. I'll help rebuild Hadrian's Wall. Build the wall 10 feet higher.
Build the wall.
Hadrian did nothing wrong. No. Damn, I can't believe I said that. No, actually, on the whole, they're better off with England, being within England, and to devolve from England and then want to join the EU full-heartedly is just crazy.
Right, fuck it. I've tried turning my mic gain all the way down and addressing it closer. It's still distorting. I have no idea what I'm doing.
You should be better at this than me. You've been doing this sort of stuff a lot longer.
I know.
A lot more professionally.
The past couple of days, it's just gone strange on me. Apologies to everyone for my audio quality. I realise I'm slightly distorted, but there's not like turning the gain all the way down, adjusting the Discord settings. I can't seem to get it to work.
Don't worry about it. You sound fine.
Honestly, you do.
No, I can tell on stream. I'm having audio like autism right now.
A fucking massive dose of audio autism taking hold.
I was going to do this stream last night. We ended up playing Scribblio and Secret Hitler, and it was. I'm glad we did actually. It was a good fun night. Sydney, you were saying earlier you wanted to bring up that thing that's going off in America with Barr.
the Mueller the investigation to Bill Barr, what the Democrats are trying to launch on what seems to be no pretense whatsoever.
No.
Essentially, Barr released his, I think it was a 4-page synopsis on the Mueller report 2 weeks before we released it. And Mueller complained about this, saying, well, you haven't released my full synopsis either. So then Barr decided to release
it was
the
such a
full
piss
40-page
take.
report. And
The
the
whole-
Democrats took him into the house and tried to accuse him of a cover-up, essentially. And he said, well, no, you can read literally the whole report if you want to. I'm sure you've read it before. And they tried to accuse him of some kind of obstruction of justice, some kind of cover-up.
The big thing with the Mueller report is it's become this massive political dick waving because the Democrats know. The Democrats know that there's nothing in there that's prosecutable or even like indictable in any way or impeachable. But the problem is Mueller had to back off because the House Intelligence Committee is half Democrat, so they filled it with a bunch of ambiguous stuff. So basically, what the report says is nothing. The report says there's not evidence either way. There's not enough evidence to completely exonerate Trump and its allies, but there's not enough evidence to say he's done anything wrong. It's basically a non-report. It basically says nothing. But if you read between the lines, what it does effectively exonerate Trump. It's just the House. The House Intelligence Committee has become this massively politicized thing of them just trying to pin anything they can to Trump. It's become an absolute farce. And honestly, I think long run it's going to run in Trump's favor because what's going to happen is people are going to lose faith in all these institutions, going to lose faith in Congress even more. And they're going to realize that the only way for Congress to affect any change and the only way for this bullshit to end is for them to return a massively overwhelmingly Republican Congress and Senate. And that's probably where we're heading. This is another stage of the Democrats' massive meltdown, in that they can't seem to get a handle on what they want and what they're doing. So they're floundering and trying to go mutt in peach.
Just throw any shit against the wall that they could try and get in.
They've been going mutt in peach since he was elected. In fact, they've been trying, since before. It's just a very old broken record these days.
The issue that the Democrats had was that the Mueller report, it's basically all the Mueller report says is that Donald Trump is a dick. And we knew that long before he even ran for president. That's what Mueller basically said. His complaint about Barr's summary is it didn't include Mueller's personal thoughts on the context of the situation. It got released, and it's basically Mueller's pointing out how much Trump was a dick.
I will say this. Rev makes a good point in chat there. He's guilty of obstruction of social justice.
That's the thing. You can't be tried and prosecuted for being a dick.
No.
So they've taken this, they've read it, and now they're in full fucking panic.
I'm gonna say we would all be in prison.
Yeah.
This entire server.
Yep, maybe. Yeah, it's everyone I've spoken to, my family, friends, anyone that I know, most of them are Donald Trump. He's terrible. He's horrible. And you ask them why? What have you done? What has he actually done? And I'm like, well, nothing really. But he's rude.
He said a mean thing.
This is the thing. He is a dickhead, like a massive dickhead. But you don't really care if he makes your job, if he cuts your taxes and makes your jobs better, do you?
Well, that's it. Loads of people are better off. America's economy has done significantly better, and yeah, he's basically crushed ISIS in Syria.
And they've got all the DNC candidates slowly coming out of the woodwork. Like Biden released his campaign speech quite a while ago, and I don't think he's even going to make it. I think the longer this goes for Biden, I think the worse it will get for him.
Uncle Joe, creepy Uncle Joe.
Once people start to realise that he's not.
Sleepy Uncle Joe, who becomes creepy Uncle Joe, yes.
Creepy Uncle Joe, hair sniffer and fondler of children. No. Allegedly, no, he doesn't fondle them. He just sort of just holds them and sniffs their hair in what looks like a very
that's all right.
uncomfortable and unpleasant way on camera. It's not like I'm making these up from there's just oh god. If Donald
Okay,
Trump's terrible for saying he grabs a woman by the pussy, Joe Biden, oh god.
This is what I've heard a lot of people say, where the first 2 days of Biden's campaign will be the best, when everyone just sees him as, he's just old Joe Biden. He doesn't really. But the unfortunate thing for him is he's got a long voting record in Congress, and it's one that doesn't sit well with the Democratic.
What I just put up in content collation.
Oh no! What?
I love these memes. The Joe Biden anime girl memes.
Oh, okay, yes, definitely. I love these. Oh god, okay, right, hold on. Let's just get it queued up over here. We can. Yes, the anime memes are
rather good. Yes,
they're pretty good, aren't they?
Yep. Oh dear.
One of the funniest things about his campaign launch was when he was doing it in front of all these people. He starts talking about Republican tax cuts. And he goes, "Did you feel the tax cuts, guys?" And even the crowd there is like, "Well, yeah, a bit." So only a few of them start cheering, and he's like, "Yeah. You didn't feel it, did you?" And they were like, "Well, I guess we didn't."
Well, the problem with that is that there seems to be an agreed media strategy with the Republican tax cuts in that a lot of people got smaller tax rebates because they paid less tax. And because, let's say, a lot of the Democratic voter base has an IQ that starts with 50, those people didn't quite realize that they got a lower tax rebate because it actually paid less tax.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were mad and thought that they were paying more tax, and so a lot of the media leaned into this, saying Trump is affecting poor families by giving them smaller tax rebates. Ezra Klein of Vox Media put out a tweet at one point boasting about the fact that the media had managed to convince a lot of America that they hadn't got a tax cut, even when objectively they had.
They had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, who was that? Who was that guy? Was it David Pacman? Did a whole show on how he was complaining about how he was so much better off, and he didn't like it because he wanted to pay more tax. And was it David Pacman that did that? I think it was.
I don't know. There's a lot of people. Yeah, there's Ezra Klein put out an article saying the Republican tax bill is an American betrayal, saying not saying but implying it's going to leave people worse off when really it left most people better off.
It was extremely good for them.
Mm. Yeah. No, every American person that I've spoken to about it, now admittedly might live in a slightly different group of friends than is totally represented, but everyone seems to be better off under Donald Trump with regards taxes and everything else.
Economy-wise, they don't have a leg to stand on, the Democrats. There's been a massive surge in manufacturing. The biggest one has been the recovery of the steel industry. It's been almost miraculous.
Yes.
I'm actually quite excited for the DNC primary debates. I genuinely am. Because I do like two of the candidates they're fielding, even though I've got no chance of winning.
Oh my god. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang are very, very interesting.
I like both of them quite a lot. I think because they've both got enough to get onto the debate stage. They're both polling at a certain percent. They've both got enough individual donors.
Yes, they do.
And they're both genuinely quite hated inside the DNC party base. Or at least Tulsi Gabbard is.
Well, I like Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not the biggest fan of Andrew Yang. I think Yang is a fucking meme. But Yang is a meme, okay? Me Yang bucks.
I think he's just quite a cool bloke.
Yeah,
he is in many ways.
You'd like to go out and get stoned with him. If that feels.
I've heard a little bit about Andrew Yang, and yes, half of it, certainly the Yang Bucks thing, just sounds mental. But he's
being able to put your tax where you want to put it.
This is
in his legislation.
I've said this. Anyone that's talked to me about, I've said this for a long time, that it would be absolutely great if you could give the general public the ability to go, okay, I can't control half of my taxes, but the other half, I would like 10% of it to go towards local policing. I'd like 10% of it to go towards the local schools. 25% to go to the local roads because the roads are in a terrible state, and basically apportion where they think their taxes should be spent, even if it's only a guideline for the government to work by. Give the actual people, and there's Yang saying the same thing. So it might be a bad idea. It might not work.
It is.
Yeah.
The problem is in California they have a lot of direct democracy initiatives, and what happens is they vote for initiatives, then vote down the bills that pay for them. Oh yeah.
Fuck's sake, man.
Oh, it's great. They vote in all these initiatives, like I don't know, there's like school stuff, and they vote in all these quote unquote progressive initiatives, then vote down the funding, and that's how Californians ended up being in almost as much debt as the Ukraine.
Oh no!
I think if California was a country, it would be. I think at one point it was the 7th most indebted country on earth. If it was a country,
I think it has the most amount of feces on its city streets than most countries, as I understand it.
Outside of India, and then they keep importing India, don't they?
No, I think it's Mexico they mostly import.
Well, San Francisco. San Francisco is the big one for designated shitting streets. And I'm just saying, H-1B visas. They were slapped on the wrist for abusing those, and and a lot of those came from India, and miraculously they seem to have a public defecation problem. I'm just one might. I'm being unfair here. It's mainly the homeless people, but it is quite funny that they had mass Indian immigration for the tech sector and ended up with a public shitting problem.
Oh damn! Yeah, and it's undeniable. The facts are certainly there. There's let's see if we can find a news article with it.
Wasn't there that thing where it was an app where you could upload where people have been shitting in San Francisco? Something like that. And it was just really fun.
Yes, there is. There's the poop map. They have poop maps.
Oh.
And the thing is, their initiatives to clean it up have actually failed. They brought out a poop patrol, to clean up the streets. But the problem is with San Francisco is it's basically the end point of the progressive utopia. It's massively in debt. They are paying people basically to be homeless, which has backfired.
Some of the highest taxes in the country.
Yeah, the problem is it's subsidized. It's subsidized by the tech sector. And if San Francisco was in isolation, if it only had its own taxation, if it only had its own people, if it only had its own laws, it would fail in a week. San Francisco is it's the epitome of what happens when you have too much money and subsidize essentially a socialist state. And even then, it's managing to fail. Even with all the tech sector billions, even with all the subsidies, it's still in dire straits. Because they don't seem they have this naive idea that homeless people don't want to be homeless, when a lot of them do, and a lot of the people would rather be paid to sit on the streets shitting and taking drugs because that's easier. They don't seem to be able to grapple with the fact that not everyone who is poor is noble, and that people are lazy.
Yeah, it makes me so. I grew up in the era of Dirty Harry movies. I don't know if you remember Dirty Harry movies. Dirty Harry was this hard-boiled cop that used to sort of roam the streets of San Francisco, shooting anyone dead that looked at him funny. And it seems like they bring back Dirty Harry as far as I'm concerned.
In this episode of Dirty Harry steps in a fucking piece of shit left behind.
Oh, those movies were great. Clint Eastwood was fantastic back in the 70s and 80s. His movies were fun.
And until he started talking to an empty chair.
Yeah. No. I'll tell you what. He still makes some good movies. But
he does make some good movies. I like some of the movies he's directed have been pretty good. Have enjoyed those.
Yeah. I'm man enough to admit that I cried like a little girl at $1 Million Baby. Good God, that film broke me in half. That was
It's
the
deliberately. It's deliberately kind of. I don't know. I liked. It was okay, but it was bleak, and I felt a little bit emotionally manipulative. And
yes,
her family were fucking caricatures.
yes, but oof, that really hit me in the feels, and I'm not usually one to get hit by movies. So I was like, oh my God, this is yeah. He does a good movie. What was the other one? Gran Torino was
Yeah,
fun.
Gran Torino. I keep wanting to say Gran Turismo
Yeah, yeah. It's
when
very
it really,
close.
really is not.
No,
That'll be a different film.
but
We just talk about Gran Turismo 4 for the next 2 hours.
No, we can't.
no.
What a game!
No.
You know,
What a game!
I still haven't played Gran Turismo 5. I bought it, and I never got round to playing it. I got totally sidetracked by The Witcher 3 and various other things. And
We've got totally sidetracked on literally everything.
look, that's what we do. Do you want to come back to the human shit on the streets of San Francisco? Or...
No, I'd rather talk about old video games.
Okay, precisely.
I guess speaking of which, we could. What have you guys been playing recently then?
Oh,
Video
well,
game wise.
video game wise, I've been reliving a little bit of The Witcher 3 and playing Scriblio and Secret Hitler with a bunch of retards on my server.
Wow, what a game!
Wow, what a hardcore gamer, yeah.
Oh
I too have
God,
been playing on my mobile game app.
what was the thing I was roped into the other night? Okay, right, yeah, Lost Planet 2.
Oh, it's not. That's quite an old game. That was pretty good.
It was an old game, and it was like some friends were there going, oh, it's really cheap. It's £2.50 or something on Steam. You must get it. I got it, and then I realised that oh no, you're going to have games for Windows set up on your computer. You're going to have to download all the patches for that, and then you're going to have to suffer from serious cancer. And then the game's going to insist on playing in window mode for 2 hours until I manage to fix that. And oh, fun game when I eventually got it done, but for £2.50, yeah,
It's more than £2.50 worth of work. Put it that way.
yeah. PUBG, I would love to
way
get
below
better.
pay bracket there, Trig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not worth my time. I don't
I've
get
had
out
a
of
few games like that. I remember when games for Windows Live used to be a thing.
Yes, that
Yeah,
was the
I had
fucking
that
thing I
installed.
had to install. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Oh my god, games.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were supposed to strip it out of everything, but games for Windows Live is a big example of why DRM is such a bad idea, especially always online kind of online sign-in verification DRM, because
Ugh.
eventually the services go down.
Mm-hmm. I've been enjoying a little bit Left 4 Dead 2. That's fun. Just looking around on my desktop of
Excuse
stuff.
me.
Yeah. No, I kind of understand where they were coming from with DRM and so on, but generally it always turns into a total nightmare, as you say, and they never fixed the piracy issue with PC gaming anyway, because
They never could. It's impossible.
well, yeah, no, how can you? If someone wants to get around that, someone's going to release a third-party patch to strip that stuff out.
Yeah. Of course, it's kind of impossible for them not to.
Yeah. And all it does is mean people that have bought the game suffer cancer from various things like what's it, Epic Gaming at the moment. It's been what? No, I've been hearing all sorts about Epic because I got Metro Exodus, and that was a really nice game, but you had to buy it through Epic, and there's been an awful lot of nonsense about Epic being, again, coming back to the Chinese, bought by the Chinese and basically being a massive chunk of spyware on your own system. Which is
Big one.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it. Apparently, you can't even remove it once it's in. It's kind of buries itself into your system, and that's it. You're done. Which I wasn't too happy to find out about. But
Yeah. You guys want some spyware?
yeah,
Y'all kids want some spyware?
Hey, it's. Oh, oh dear me.
But no, it's all a bit of a shit show, and China, whenever they get involved, it's
China.
China.
China. Oh dear
Yeah.
me.
Always copying everything they can get their hands on. God. Oh, don't
Dear me.
get me started on.
It's such a thing. I can't believe that though, with the whole Huawei thing though. That is quite disgraceful.
Oh yeah. Let's go back to that. Actually, let's bring those damn filthy traitors back up on screen, because as I said,
Yeah.
40 years ago, these guys would have been shot as traitors to the country for basically what they're doing. This is massive payoffs. This is why politicians should not be allowed to I've let me get this straight. I've said this for quite a while. Politicians in the UK are not paid enough, and the
No.
reason I say this is that you pay them 60, 70 grand a year, maybe a little more if they're the PM. I think the PM's on about 150 or something. But at that point, they are barely representing middle or upper middle management in the private sector, and they are
They
then
also they do have colossal amounts of tax breaks and stuff like that,
yeah,
and
but
things they can put onto expenses.
But that aside, well, the moment they sit down at a table with a guy that's sat there earning a couple of million a year, who says, you know what, when you finish being a politician, if you'd like a job on the board, we'll set you up with a couple of million pounds a year job. If you'll just pass this little bit of legislation for us, we won't say anything now, and I won't do anything now for you. But after you've done being a politician, come and work for us, and we'll set you up very nicely. And then all of a sudden, sleazy, horrifying things happen to the country. Now, if you basically put in place something that said they cannot do that, maybe after you've been working as a a government official at a high level, certainly, for you that's it, you have to retire, and here's your state pension, and you'll be looked after very, very well, and here's your decent pay while you're doing it, so that they can't have these sleazy scumbags doing, literally betraying the country, and undermining the country's intelligence and data security in the process.
People look at me like I'm fucking stupid when I tell them that politicians should be paid more.
Mm.
But it always comes with the caveat that they need to be banned from being a director of a company, or being on a board of a company, or being basically a paid consultant.
Yeah.
It used to be that politicians were semi-professional, like back in day, before a lot of this, before business was set up how it is.
Mm.
A lot of politicians used to be professionals. They used to be practicing lawyers. They used to be practicing doctors. But those days are long gone. And now,
Yeah.
as much as I hate the idea of professional politicians, it's a much lesser evil to have them being paid off by the state who they serve, rather than them being paid off by a board of directors for a company. You are right. That does happen disturbingly often.
Yeah.
It's for petty things as well. I remember one MP got in trouble for asking questions in Parliament because they were on the board of directors for a fucking caravan firm.
I personally would have quite. I know it's probably not popular here, but I would have quite draconian laws about this. I would have it so politicians could only be publicly funded and not have the option to work in that kind of consultancy, advisory, board membery way.
I don't so much mind them writing books afterwards. I think that's actually should be encouraged. I think memoirs is a really good business for politicians to get into once they've quit.
Well,
That's
it has to be interesting.
No, they don't. They just won't sell if they're not interesting.
That's what I mean.
But yeah, absolutely. I don't have a problem with people telling their life story. When it comes to starting to give speeches, it starts getting a little bit concerning at that point. Difficult to regulate, but again, as long as they're public speak. But the moment they start taking, as you say, directorships and sitting on boards and being offered whopping great salaries for essentially services rendered previously, Of course, that's not what's actually they're using their talents at that company. They're not being paid off for all of the slimy things that they may or may not have done to get there in the first place. But yeah, no, it's they should almost be treated as if they're bankrupt, as you say. You can't sit on a board of directors. No, you can't be a consultant. That's it. You're out.
Yeah, I think it's a conflict of interest, definitely.
Yeah,
a very large one. And people don't seem to be very concerned about those these days.
should be.
There's a lot of it with journalists too. Still, a lot of that was, I don't know. People try to root it out a bit, but apparently that's misogyny. But anyway, big. Oh, a weird side point. Have you guys seen the reaction to the fact that they're going to redesign the Sonic for the Sonic? They're going to redesign Sonic for the Sonic movie.
You know,
Yeah.
I missed a lot of that. I was silly me. I was busy looking at what was going off in Venezuela when all of that stuff about Sonic came out. You know, what can I say? I was there. I was thinking that.
Shut up, boomer.
Some of us can pay attention to both.
But no, I noticed there was that Sonic was trending higher than what was going off in Venezuela.
Well,
but
to be fair, both of those were an abomination to God. But
I mean, did you see it?
what is so go on? What's happened with Sonic? Because I saw it and I just sort of face palmed a
Basically,
bit at the
they
internet.
attempted to release the Sonic movie, but
Right.
the model they'd created for Sonic was some kind of unholy abomination of mankind.
Oh, it
So-
had got
and
it had
it
got human
caused
teeth or
awful
something.
Backlash.
it
Yeah.
was fucking weird.
Okay. Okay. So they're redoing it now. They're redoing the teeth. Is that right? They're redoing the
Yes.
mouth
They're
animation.
redoing the entire design apparently.
Yeah.
Hold on. When is it due to be released? Because I thought the film was almost done.
Yeah, it
I-
got put back due to just awful criticism about how terrible
It did look terrible.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't see much of it. I'll take your word for it. Okay.
But
Damn.
the big thing is a lot of journalists, especially games journalists, are very salty about it because they're using it as an excuse to try and bash people. Like, oh, you don't like people's artistic vision now. They're still salty about the fact that everyone laughed at them when they went to an easy mode for that game, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Oh, they did. They couldn't even get past the tutorial screen on.
Doom.
It wasn't Doom. It was Cuphead, wasn't
Cuphead.
it? They couldn't.
Yes, that was quite famously a journalist called Dean Takahashi who could not get past the tutorial. He couldn't double jump. He couldn't understand you need to use a previous platform to jump onto the next platform, which is one of the building blocks of how platforming.
A game works.
Oh.
This is Mario Bros. Shit. Come on,
Oh no.
come on.
How are they games journalists?
They're failed.
Because they're
failed.
journalists who can't get in any other journalistic.
Yeah, they failed basically. A lot of the people who are games journalists think they're going to be writers, think they're going to be authors, they think they're going to work for the New York fucking Times, but they never are.
No. Oh
They're
dear.
basically sub a BuzzFeed.
Wait, is that possible?
Oh, there are deeper depths.
Yes.
The depths we have not yet plumbed.
Yeah, I remember Gamergate.
I remember. Let me. In fact, in terms of good journalists, let me give a shout out to a friend of mine, Sophia, who works for Niche Gamer, because they are quite. They tend to not only complete the games that they review. Spoiler alert: a lot of games journalists don't even do that, and have got caught multiple times. But they tend to also because they tend to play in PS4, get the platinum trophy for them too, as in 100% complete them, which I think is going a step beyond. So there are still some good games journalists about, just
damn.
not many at the mainstream sites.
No. God almighty, that's a mess. That's a
Really
mess.
nice.
Speaking of Venezuela, actually, have you heard anything? Because it was all over the place the other day. It was like there's a coup attempt. It's a civil war. It's the rightful president Guaido is going to take back his position and oust Maduro, and then pretty much silence. Last I heard that some ships had set sail from America and were heading down there, and then not a lot. And I've heard Tulsi Gabbard said she didn't want to see troops on the ground in Venezuela. I think that's right. I don't think American troops should start getting involved in that. And a friend of mine and I were talking about the prevalence of Colombian equipment and outfits that seem to be wandering around on some of the footage we saw.
Yes.
A lot of Cuban.
Well, yeah, well that's yeah. Those are the two major players that are sort of playing out in Venezuela, and I think they're proxies essentially for their respective backers. Russia and America. Did I say that out loud? But yeah, no, I haven't heard anything in the last day or so about what's gone off because it looked like there was a lot of people running around. There was an awful lot of gunshots being fired, and then it's been silent. And I've not heard.
The problem is the uprising kind of fizzled.
That's what I figured.
What happened is that the defections they were hoping for didn't materialize. The military is effectively in power in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And it's basically become, out of the ashes of socialism, it's basically become a military dictatorship. Members of the military, loyal members of the military, are basically a different class.
A dictatorship has happened out of the ashes of a socialist uprising. That never, almost always happen. Never, I mean, yeah, always happens. So, who would have thought a socialist utopia would have turned into a nightmarish dictatorship? Venezuela.
It's a big problem because most Venezuelans don't like the regime, but there's so much oppression in place that they don't know what they can do and when they can do it. There's also a large system in place of paid pro Maduro thugs.
Yes.
That basically attack and kill anyone who tries to protest. So it's quite a difficult situation. It might require some intervention. The problem is that Cuba, China, and Russia all have it. They're basically China and Russia are buying Venezuela's oil at incredibly cut down prices in exchange for supporting the regime.
Yes.
The bonds that Venezuela sold were an absolute betrayal to the nation. They basically make Venezuela a vassal state to the Chinese or the Russians for the next 20 years. They should be cancelled if the regime does end up defaulting back to democracy. If they end up regaining their country, they should cancel those deals, because those deals essentially are, we will give you all our oil in return for military and diplomatic support.
Right, I've got to be back in a little bit. If you're still streaming, I'll jump back into chat. But it's been good fun. So
it has.
Leaving you now. So have a good one.
All right, Sydney. You take care, mate. Have fun.
Yes. Well, we've been streaming for a little while here. It appears we are wrapping up a little bit.
I think we're getting there. I've been live now for an hour and 40 minutes. This is not bad. I haven't done one this long for a little while. Did that?
What he said.
Oof.
I like to keep streamed. If I'm doing a stream, I like to keep it under 2 hours at least, but it's watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally, I try to keep my content under an hour, but it's a stream's a stream. So and we have had quite a few viewers. We've been up to about 22, 23 viewers, so that's been not been too bad.
That's pretty major for this little tiny channel of mine. So yeah, no, thank you for that. Yes, I think coming back to China as a final note is we've come around too many times to China. It's always China. Dirty spy merchants.
Dirty spy merchants.
Yeah,
but
so
enough about Mossad.
There goes my monetization. What am I talking about? I don't have any monetization.
No, it's a big thing. I think in terms of China, Trump's policy of confronting China rather than patting them on the head is a much more viable long-term. China has become a massive global threat.
Yes.
To freedom and democracy, hugely so. You have to just look at Africa, and people aren't willing to call them on their bullshit. They don't play by the rules. They constantly cheat economically. They constantly cheat diplomatically, and they constantly violate treaties.
Yes.
They are and should be treated as an adversary.
Yes.
And any other approach, I think, is extremely flawed.
I'll tell you what, it's not just Africa. One of the interesting ones that no one seems to mention is Australia. Australia.
Yeah.
Australia is looking at a very large demographic shift in the very near future, and it is largely due to Chinese immigration. I was there 20 years ago, and I noticed an awful lot of people on trains and buses that were Oriental in descent, shall we say, and yeah, we'll do more on that later because I haven't prepared anything, but yeah, no, I've heard some interesting things about that as well. But Scrump, thanks ever so much for coming along, mate. It's been a blast, and I think we'll wrap it up here. It's been my pleasure. It was a joy to be on your show. This is now your
It may not
okay.
have been a coup in Venezuela, there's been a coup here.
Yeah.
That's the point. Are we off air now?